Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jasmine Montez, and I am the dietetic intern here at the PRC. Today, I'll be talking about type 2 diabetes prevention, specifically covering topics like prediabetes awareness, ways to prevent type 2 diabetes, and how to make lifestyle changes. Let's get started. So I hope that by the end of this presentation, you guys will get to learn about the risk factors for type 2 diabetes, understand what is type 2 diabetes, learn how to eat healthy to prevent type 2 diabetes, learn the recommended amount of physical activity, and of course, learn how to make healthier lifestyle changes. So before we begin into the content, I have a little pretest where I kind of just want to hear what information you may already know. This pretest is not graded. I would just like for you to try your best and try to answer these three questions. The first one is, in type 2 diabetes, what is the hormone that the body cannot use or make enough of? The second question is, in the diabetes plate method, what should make up half of your plate? And then the last question is, how many minutes a day should adults engage in physical activity and at what intensity? All right, so I want to begin with highlighting prediabetes awareness. So according to the CDC, over 80% to 90% of American adults with prediabetes don't know they have it, right? So this is why it's important. The sooner you know that you are pre-diabetic, the sooner you can try to prevent it. Prediabetes is a serious condition where blood sugar levels are higher than normal, but not high enough to be diabetic. So to give you an idea, right here where it says the A1C level, which is a blood test typically used to diagnose diabetes, we have the ranges. So if you are between the range of 5.7 to 6.4, that is considered pre-diabetic. If it's 6.5 or above, that's considered diabetic. And if you are about 5, that is considered normal. All right, so I also wanted to share the risk factors for being pre-diabetic. They are listed here, many of which are out of our control, right? So our family history, our race. However, there are some things that are modifiable, such as physical activity and diet. So if you have a sedentary lifestyle where you're sitting most of the time, this could put you at risk. And if you consume a high processed foods diet or consume a lot of sugary drinks, and red meat, that can also put you at risk. So what to do? You can always take a risk test to figure out if you are at risk of being pre-diabetic. You could also visit your doctor to have this conversation and maybe schedule a blood test to see where you are. This is an example of the prediabetes risk test. So it asks you about 7 questions, and once you choose an answer, it'll give you the point number, and you would just write it in the box. And once you add up all your points, if you scored a 5 or higher, that would mean that you are at risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So what is type 2 diabetes? Some of you may already know, so this might be a reminder, but it is a chronic condition where the body cannot use insulin or produce enough of it. This causes sugar, um, or in other words, glucose in the body to build up in your blood. Insulin is a hormone released by your pancreas, which is this image right here. And its job is to put the sugar into your cells so that your body can function, right? And that you have energy. Type 2 diabetes is typically caused by genetic factors and lifestyle choices, such as poor diet or maybe lacking physical activity over time. So what about type 1 diabetes? Some of you guys may have heard about type 1. It is different. This is an autoimmune condition where your own immune system destroys insulin-producing cells in the pancreas. This is typically caused by genetics or certain viruses. It is not caused by lifestyle choices. This can happen at any age, and the symptoms are very similar to type 2, which is high blood sugar, excessive thirst, frequent urination, and unexplained weight loss. With type 1 diabetes, lifelong daily insulin therapy is needed for management, so there is no cure for it. All right, so let's get into what we came here today, which is figuring out how to prevent type 2 diabetes, right? So number one is changing our diet, right? So I have listed here some food groups that it is recommended for you to choose more of or consume more of. So the first group is the non-starchy vegetables. So this is your bell peppers, your broccoli, your spinach, mushrooms, asparagus, zucchini, carrots, and kale. You want to choose more whole grains in your diet, so things like quinoa, wild rice, oatmeal, cereals, popcorn, whole grain pasta, and things like that. And then our legumes, like your chickpeas, lentils, black beans, green beans, and kidney beans. Hi.
You heard of the class? Oh, yeah. Yes. Okay.
All right, and then some other things you want to include into your meals are lean proteins, which you want to include most of. So things like fish, chicken, turkey, tofu, eggs, tuna, and lean beef as well. Fruits, of course, you want to include into your diet. The more of a variety, the better. So try to maybe switch up the fruits that you're eating. Nuts and seeds are also important. You get healthy fats from them. So things like pumpkin seeds, walnuts, pecans, hemp seeds, and almonds. And lastly, your beverage choice is also important. You want to strive for drinking more water, or beverages that are low in sugar, maybe adding some fresh fruit to your water for flavor, and things like that. All right, so a lot of the foods that I just showed and mentioned all have fiber. So what is fiber? Fiber is a carbohydrate found in plant-based foods. So your fruits, your veggies, your whole grains, and your legumes. Fiber doesn't digest in your body, it just passes through, which helps with regulating your blood sugar, lowers your cholesterol, helps you feel fuller, and also helps with weight management. There's two types of fiber. The first one is soluble fiber. This one helps you slow down the absorption of sugar, and it also helps lower your cholesterol. So examples of soluble fiber would be oats, nuts, seeds, lentils, beans, and fruits. The second one is insoluble fiber, and this one kind of helps you clean out your gut, right? So it adds bulk to your stool and it helps relieve constipation. So this is where the help with weight management comes in too. And you can get insoluble fiber from whole grains and veggies. So the recommended amount for an average adult would be 20 to 35 grams of fiber a day, right? So what does that look like? I provided some examples like 1 cup of cooked lentils or 3 tablespoons of chia seeds can get you about that range. So how to increase fiber in your day-to-day? So you can try to eat your fruits and veggies with the skin on versus taking it off or blending it. The skin provides most of the fiber that you want. You can try swapping out your grains for whole grains. So for example, maybe instead of white rice, you can try brown rice or you can try quinoa, other options. You can add beans or legumes also to your meals. Okay, so we talked about all the foods that you should choose more often. How does that look like on your plate? This is the diabetes plate method. So here the key is portion, right? So half of your plate should be the non-starchy vegetables. So like the broccoli, the zucchini, the bell peppers, and things like that. A quarter should be your carb foods, so your grains, your beans. This would also include your starchy vegetables, so like potatoes, sweet potatoes, corn would also be in that category. And then the other bottom part would be your protein foods. So chicken, turkey, lean beef, any kind of protein there. And then, of course, we have our beverage choice of always striving for water, or a, low calorie drink. I included these two pictures here because it's helpful to see like what kind of food do you eat at home and how could you put it into the diabetes plate. So on the left, we have more of like a American type of dish, where we have the grilled chicken at the bottom, we have our pasta at the top, and then half of our plate again is the non-starchy vegetables, so our spinach, our bell peppers, and I think that's a tomato right there. So that's just an example. And then on the right, this one's more of a Mexican plate. So we have our chicken, we have our black beans, our tortilla would also be included in the carbs part. And then we have half of our non-starchy vegetables as well. So we got some tomato, we got some cilantro, avocado, lettuce, tomatoes, things like that. So maybe this can get you to start thinking like, oh, what do you typically cook at home and where does it go on this diabetes plate? Maybe you got to add more, maybe you might have to take something out or swap. All right. So there are things we want to choose less often. And these are things like our sugar sweetened beverages, our processed meats, our condiments, and our sweets, right? Our added sugars. Um, these, all of these categories, are typically high in sugar and fats and also in sodium. So these are things we want to choose less often. Okay, so I've included 12 healthy habits that you guys can try in your typical routine, just so you can help prevent yourself from getting type 2 diabetes. So the first one is try bringing lunch from home. Sometimes home cooked meals are better than going out to buy something from a fast food place. We also have making your favorite recipes. That doesn't mean that you can't eat your favorite food, but maybe just adding a twist to it to make it a little bit healthier can be helpful. Making time to cook. So, in order to bring lunch from home, you're gonna have to make some time to cook a meal at home, right? Where you have the control of putting whatever you want to make to eat. Number four, use spices and herbs instead of salt. This can help reduce the amount of salt or saltiness in your food, while it still tastes good with a variety of spices and herbs. Number five, try not to skip meals, right? Try to eat while we're hungry. If we're hungry, go ahead and eat something. We don't want to starve ourselves. Six, add something fresh. Maybe, for example, you have a frozen pizza at home. You can balance that out with maybe a fresh side salad. So the key here is maybe just trying to add something fresh to balance it out. Number seven is maybe skipping the appetizers if we're out at a restaurant. Maybe you want to watch your portions and just focus on your main meal. Eight is bake instead of frying. Nine is sticking to the grocery list. 10 is maybe trying meatless Mondays. An example of this could be a lentil soup. 11 being freeze for later. So this goes back to prepping at home, cooking, and maybe if you make a large batch, freeze it for another day. And then lastly, plan your meals before, days before. All right, so another way to prevent type 2 diabetes is, of course, physical activity. It is recommended that for an adult, they should try to do 30 minutes a day for 5 days of moderate intensity physical activity. So examples of moderate intensity is brisk walking, cycling, dancing, gardening, running, strength training, or sports. It's also recommended for kids to do 60 minutes a day too. So maybe this can be an idea for you and your child to do some kind of activity together. And then lastly, I have a little tip for you guys. Walking 10 to 15 minutes after your meal can actually help lower your blood sugar. All right, so how to make lifestyle changes. The first step is finding your motivation. So, why is it that you want to make these changes, right? Is it to stay healthy? Is it to reduce your risk? Is it weight management? Maybe you just want to feel good, or maybe your family is your motivation. Number two is once you figure out your motivation, choose what you want to change or what you're ready to change. Whether that be maybe you're ready to add more vegetables to your meals, or maybe you're ready to try a new grain like quinoa. Maybe you want to try drinking more water, or maybe you want to reduce the amount of times you guys eat out. Um, or perhaps maybe you just want to start making healthier snacks. Whatever that may be, just go ahead and choose one, right? The third step is taking small steps. So when we are trying to work towards a change or a goal, we don't want to overwhelm ourselves with a big change. So start small, right? Things like starting a 10-minute walk instead of starting right away into the 30 minutes, right? Whatever is easier for you, and then you build your way up. Another example of taking small steps is adding maybe one vegetable to your meal, or drinking water with two of your meals, like lunch or dinner. And then lastly, in order to make this change, you want to plan a new routine, right? So how are you going to do it? Are you going to set a timer? Maybe you need a reminder, maybe setting a reminder on your phone. Getting support from your family or friends and coworkers is also great to kind of help you stay on track. Um, Logging your diet or your activity is also a popular one. And of course, you can always write down your goals as well. Here are some examples. So we have a food diary where you write out what you ate for breakfast. How did it make you feel? How much of your breakfast did you eat? Did you eat all of it or half of it? This kind of just helps you realize and reflect a little bit about how your meals impact your day and your health. On the right, we have an activity log, which is just writing down like the kind of activity that you do for how long and at what pace, right? Because we're trying to strive for a moderate intensity of activity. So these things tend to help you kind of stay on track. All right, so we are approaching the end of my presentation. So just to summarize, three things for you to kind of take away from this presentation. Prediabetes awareness is important to reduce your risk for type 2. Changing your diet and your physical activity over time can help prevent type 2 diabetes, and taking small steps to changing your diet and physical activity can lead to long-lasting changes. All right, and this is the post-test, the same questions as the pre-test. So feel free to look over these questions and hopefully you feel confident in the answer. All right, that is all I have for you guys today, and I'll open it up to any questions. Thank you. Thank you.